Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on DC news, DC movie news, but just really specifically on one movie and one project, and that is Superman. So as we know, the new Superman film, simply entitled Superman now. Superman Legacy feels like it was ages ago, but just Superman, which of course is being written and being directed by James Gunn. That's currently being filmed. We know that's going to be filming for the next handful of months, so there might be like sprinkles of updates and maybe some little photos here and there, but it's it's being filmed, but not much is really coming out from it outside of just the knowledge that we know it's being filmed. And we know all the castings and all that for the characters that are, going to be showing up throughout the film, whether they are smaller characters that might only be in a handful of scenes, or your larger ones, your main characters like your Superman, your Lois Lane, your Lex Luther, etc. They've all been revealed. James Gunn has confirmed that. Now, these, of course, being a mix of good and bad characters, or heroes and villains, whichever way you want to put it. But one thing that many were wondering and just going, hold on, is this character being casted? And we don't know, because it wasn't really clear from what we knew previously was the villain. Like, sure, we have villains like Lex Luther playing a part in the movie with characters like Eve Tessmacher and like the engineer from the Authority alongside him at stages and filling into that, villainous side of the movie. But what about a true villain to go against Superman physically? Sure, we could have a movie without that side. You can easily do that. Superman Returns really did that. But it would be a hard sell in, like, especially today's big movie market, and would leave like a third act possibly leaving or not having a bit of zing and punch. And like in a movie like a Superman movie, I mean, you just sort of expect there to be that big spectacle, maybe not big spectacle thing, but just a big third act with, some action and everything like that. And for a character to compete with Superman, it's got to be a big character, and nothing had really come out. There were teasers of, it's going to be Brainiac, but even James Gunn wasn't teasing that. Even just like sort of the inspiration behind this movie, it wasn't leaning into anything like Brainiac. So we're all just wondering, like, hey, well, who the hell's it going to be? But that concern for a lack of a proper physical villainous threat for Superman of recent may have been put to bed. And the choice by James Gunn, if this is true, is interesting to say the least. It's also very risky. Like, it might just be me when we go through it, but like it was just how I just saw it that way. When like it just caught me off guard at first, to the point where I was like, oh, like, this is just some stupid internet rumor that some idiot has made up and a couple of people going along with it. But it's gaining traction and sort of being backed up by multiple scoopers across the net. So due to that, it makes me go, oh, okay, maybe this is actually happening, and it makes it worth discussing. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. Do you like this decision? Are you like in the middle, like, it could work, it might not, you're not too sure, or you're completely like against? Some people hate it. Some people are like, hey, this isn't too bad. I haven't seen anyone praise it too much because it's like a bit off, because it's definitely changing up the source material from the comics. But you might have to let me know how you feel when we go through it. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like, it takes 2 seconds. Now, this is coming from The Geeky Cast initially. That's the website that reported it first initially. But as I said, it's being backed up by other sources now. So they're just the initial person that posted it online. So we will read out what they have to say about this apparent villain for Superman and what it means for the film, as well as connections to other characters within the film and the story. We've been sitting on this rumor since the 3rd of the 4th, 24. Now, that would be, I think, no, actually, I think that's March 4th, because it's American dates. Anyway, so I think that's March 4th. And when it finally came out, people didn't believe us. Now it seems to be coming out of everywhere, and it's showing the scoop was pretty darn accurate. Gunn also has been hinting at it through other photos. The colors and logo are clearly Ultraman. It seems Gunn is taking the mirror villain and making him more spiced up than Bizarro. Lex Luther is said in this film to be more of a scientist, and we heard about that early this week, and also today from our friends at DCEU Leaks. It seems Ultraman won't be from another universe this time, but be more of a clone made by Lex Luther. We have also heard there is a lot of multiversal aspects, and a ton is taken from Kingdom Come. We also heard of a big tease at the end of the film, and should have more details in the next upcoming weeks. Stay tuned. So obviously I didn't set that up specifically because I just wanted to read what they have to say, but Ultraman is apparently the villain. Now, the big thing that's not said in this little thing, is sort of backed up by some other stuff, is that Ultraman's not this new actor. They're not getting Henry Cavill to play Ultraman, or Brandon Routh, or Tom Welling, or whoever form of Superman it is to play Ultraman. It's going to be played by David Corenswet as well, which of course plays into the clone aspect, because if someone's cloned, well, you sort of expect them to look like whoever they're cloned off. Now, this was very surprising that this was the thing that was put there, because you know, Ultraman is connected to the crime syndicate from Earth 3. So to have it, you know, in this different aspect now to bring this character in, it's, you know, it's definitely going, it's a small source material, and maybe goes, okay, well, maybe they're not going to explore anything like that in the future. Like, they have zero plans to, so they thought, well, we'll just use the character now. Now, whether the term Ultraman is used, like, you just don't know. I don't know if it's meant to be just a play on, like, oh, well, we have Superman here. So Lex Luthor goes, well, what's better than Super? Ultra. We'll go Ultra. So that's why he goes down that name. Or it could just be the overall design. Like, as you can see, the design here, they're very similar, but they're also different at the same time. So, and it's a bit more of a difference than Bizarro, where it's literally just a flip. Like, it's just a mirror image. So while this is, you know, like Bizarro is like the literal mirror and does the opposite and everything like that, you know, instead of like heat vision has ice vision, instead of ice breath has, you know, fire breath, everything like that. Ultraman is more similar to Superman, but obviously evil, if that makes sense. So that's maybe why James Gunn would lean to the Ultraman side rather than doing Bizarro. And of course, you're not going to do a Doomsday thing, because we've seen that on 2 separate occasions where they've done sort of like a scientisty, like scientisty, is it even a word? But like a scientist Lex Luthor, and taken like the Bizarro or like another Kryptonian and then change them. We saw it, and of course, Batman v Superman, but then of course just saw it recently on Superman and Lois as well. So you definitely wouldn't just do that again. Now, the one interesting thing is, like, of course, they're doing the clone thing, but I mentioned it before, the multiverse. So like, why not just use the multiverse? People are wondering, like, if you want to use Ultraman, why not just use the multiverse and then use Lex Luthor's scientific or scientist like angle that's going to be, you know, prevalent in this movie, and he just can create something where he can go into the multiverse. But maybe Gunn doesn't want to explore that, but he wants to use the character. That could be what's happening there. So he's like, well, I really want to use this character because I think it fits into what's going on here and everything like that. But I also don't want to open that wormhole or that gate into the multiverse as of yet. Now, the only thing is that they're saying in this report here that they heard that there is a lot of multiverse aspects as well. So if there's going to be multiversal aspects in the movie anyway, then why not use the multiverse to introduce this character and have it that, like, Lex Luthor can, like, I don't know, scheme his way into bringing this guy over. Maybe that's harder to explain. Just cloning him is the easier way to do it. I'm not too sure. But then, as I said before, people are wondering, and I mentioned the character before, why not just use Bizarro? Like, he creates a Bizarro. He's not creating Doomsday, but he creates a Bizarro. And maybe Ultraman has those, like, a little bit of Bizarro in there, but it's not going to be called Bizarro. We don't know. Like, there's going to be a lot of questions. And as I said, like, a bit early in the video, like, there is a lack of context there from what we have here. So you can only base it off what's being said here. And, you know, it could be, you know, further explored. At least you would hope would be further explored when, you know, you get to see the movie if this is what's actually happening. But Lex Luthor being more science-based, you know, that lines up. Like, that has been a rumor previously, like, not, I think, since the beginning, but I think it was probably around the time that Nicholas Hoult was cast, that they'd go for a more, like, scientific, like, based Lex Luthor, or at least he leans into that, like, and, like, the technology side. That's maybe how he sort of, like, tries to combat against Superman, and that's going to happen. So it makes sense that I'd use that side that's been rumored before and lean into him making this clone of Superman, which maybe is even connected to the engineer, because it seems that the engineer is going to be alongside Lex Luthor, and it makes you wonder, okay, did Lex create the engineer? And then that leads into him further, like, going further down the rabbit hole, and then leading into cloning, where then he can clone Superman. Like, in the comics, this version of the engineer that we're getting, I think, like, I'm just going off the top of my head from what I read previously, like about a month or so ago, it's like she gets, like, the old engineer from before, but she, like, transfers her blood with this, like, technology based, like, material or something, and it changes her. But maybe so instead of her willingly doing it in the comics, in this movie, in this universe, maybe Lex Luthor does it. Like, maybe she got injured and she was still, like, almost like a RoboCop situation. I like, RoboCop's the thing that pops into my mind. Like, she gets really badly injured, but he's able to do this, that, and the other and keep her alive. But also she's mostly, like, technology and, you know, mechanics and everything like that. Maybe Lex does that to her, and it was like an early stage of him, like, testing, like, genetic materials and, you know, things like that. But the big thing around this, and it's a simple question, very simple question: is this a good idea? If I had to make a definitive choice, I honestly think no. But that is really just based off the thing I said before, a real lack of context for how it will specifically be done in the film. Like, we're wondering, okay, will it work this way? You know, is it going to be just a straight up Ultraman? We don't know. It's just the base thing of, oh, it's Ultraman, it's a clone. Like, we don't know the complete context, the setup and everything in the film and everything like that. But I just think the base idea, it just seems a bit lame on paper. But maybe in execution and what we see in the final product, if this is actually the case and that's what's happening and Ultraman is showing up, it could be done much better. And I'd assume that's going to be the case. You'd hope there'd be more context and it would be more fleshed out and everything like that. But we also don't know the road to it, as I was saying before. Like, we don't know what happens in the first 2/3 of this movie that then leads into, if we're just assuming that Ultraman shows up in the third act, but what happens previously to lead up to this point. You know, the other failures and stuff, and has this been brewing in the background? Is Lex Luthor's main, like, ploy in this movie just to get some blood or something from Superman, and then they can create this clone? Like, we don't know. But at the same time, like, it doesn't necessarily excite me, but as I was sort of saying earlier in the video, like, a lot of people were wondering if there was going to be like a proper villain, if you want to put like a physical villain. So maybe this is just the thing that James Gunn came up with. It was like, we've got like the main story for most of the movie that I've structured, but I understand like people expect this big third act thing with Superman, and this is what I've conjured up. So I don't know. I don't hate it. I just don't think it's a great idea, you know. But I think I could live with it as long as it's done well. But that's the case with anything. You can really like something, but if it's done horribly, then you're not going to like it, are you? So it's a wait and see. It definitely surprised me when I first read it, but I just want to see how they handle it, you know, when the movie actually comes out, if this is what's happening. Because keep in mind, it's still a rumor. It's not confirmed or anything like that at this point. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on everything running this video. Do you like this idea of Ultraman being a clone, not being like the Ultraman from the comics? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.